All right. Hello, everyone. So today we have with us Hrishitaa Satish, and she has a long presentation. So I think that today you don't need me. Actually, today's session can be taken care by she herself. But to introduce, first of all, she's one student who was actually super motivated, and despite taking most of the classes online, I guess she's managed to score the top rank in all the institutions. So she gave NIFT, she gave UCEED, and she gave an ID examination. Her rank in finally she's joining IIT Delhi, of course. She will be going to IIT Delhi to start the new phase of her life, and everything is done. She has secured rank 40 in NID in the prelims. She didn't give the mains examination because by that time she had her IIT Delhi in hand. She didn't opt for the NID mains examination. In NIFT, she gave both the examination. Her rank was 57, All India rank 57. And in UCEED, her rank was 21. So she has decided to join IIT Delhi out of all the colleges. But she will be talking about NID, NIFT, and UCEED separately, how she has prepared, from where she has sourced the resources apart from what she has done at Design Circle. She has done a lot of things on her own also, because as I told you, the super motivated girl of 2023 batch who managed to be in the top rank in all the institutions. So which private college exam she gave, why private college exams are good to appear before the NID examination. She will be taking all these questions and answers and the presentation. Those, Rishita, you can share your screen. And by the way, congratulations once again for starting the new career. And I'm very much sure that will be a topper there also.
Thank you so much, sir.
All right.
I'll just share my screen. Sir, can you see this?
Yes, we can see your screen. Guys, can you see your screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firstly, I want to thank Sumit, sir, for this wonderful opportunity. Without your guidance, I wouldn't be here. And I would also like to thank all of you for joining today. And I hope that you find this very helpful presentation.
I have seen the presentation and I have learned so much out of the presentation. I'm sure they will be learning a lot of things. Yes, Vijita, I won't be disturbing you now. Please continue because I have a habit of speaking.
No, sir, thank you. So although sir already introduced me, I thought I would also do the same. And I've been motivated this entire year because I was really interested in art and design for a very long time. And thankfully, my parents also pushed me to pursue this as a career. I graduated this year from Sanskriti School in Chanakyapuri. And as advised by Design Circle, I also give a few private college exams for practice, namely TDB, ISDI, give these private college exams because they make for a great practice round before you give your NID NIFT exams. They give you a chance to see what the exam room is like, how people are there in there, what kinds of people are also there that you're competing with, what questions come. And like a mock test itself, you get a feel of the examination because it's real. They're going to be giving you your acceptance letters as well. So it's a great practice for you to do. Before I go into NIFT and ID and UCEED separately, these are some of the general guidelines that I always followed. The first one was to create a schedule. This is so important because it organizes all of your activities. If you're like me, you have tons of work from school to do, tons of work from Design Circle itself. Then when you create a schedule for yourself, you know when you have to do what. And you can also schedule in breaks for yourself. Secondly, you should attend every single lecture. I can't stress how important this is because even if you're really tired one day and you come back from school, once you, at least when you attend the lecture, some amount of the information is going into your head and you will remember it. So it's really important that you listen to what sir has to say. And the most important, if you can make notes throughout the lectures. You can, even if you passively sit and listen, it's good, but when you actively listen during class, you're able to take in the information and process it, and then you don't have to keep studying it again and again later. This is one thing I also struggled with sometimes, but I realized if you keep pushing yourself to make notes, it makes it so much easier to study later on. You should dedicate a certain amount of time. I recommend 1 to 3 hours a day to study for these exams. uh, Towards the end you will be scrambling for time. You'll realize time is your biggest enemy and you would wish you had more time. So even if you study 1 hour every single day for the competitive exams, it will help you so much. Attending the daily drawing questions that sir gives is the biggest help I had this entire year, because drawing is something you need to be consistent with. The second you stop practicing drawing, your hand, all your muscle memory goes away. So it's very important that every day you draw, you time yourself and you draw, and you attend the questions sirs gives, because a lot of the questions end up coming also towards the end and they help you progress to also. I look at the sketches I used to make before and they weren't that great compared to how make them now. But you see that it is because you keep drawing every single day. Did someone speak? um, Practice daily drawing, math questions, English exercises, GK quizzes, all of them if it's possible. There are a couple of books also I'll recommend later on that you can read from every day. This is amazing to do because every single day when you practice, especially current affair questions, it gets into your head slowly. And then after a month later, if someone, one of the questions comes in a mock test, you'll be like, I remember reading about this, and you will know the answer because you're actively practicing every single day. Keeping a notebook for every subject, I important one is involving a family member. My father was really dedicated to sitting in every single class with me most of the time. And if you can ask a family member, your father, mother, your siblings to join you and to give them your schedule so they can see when all you have classes, when all you have to submit some questions, then when you can't push yourself to do it, your family is there to push you to do it. Second thing I want to talk about is school and classes, because 12th grade is a really tough year. You have pressure from school, you have pressure from parents, and you might crack also at some time, but that's hours. It's tough to keep your head straight during a class, but if you can just listen during class hours, you don't have to come home and keep studying for school as well. And you might also think that you should keep school on a sideline for a while, because that this entire year I did that. I made the mistake in the beginning of not doing that and focusing on school instead. But it's much better if you leave school for a while for now and practice and focus on your competitive examinations, because those are much more important. When the time comes to give your board exams, you'll have 1.5 months to prepare and you'll do well. It will be fine that time. Create and the Another thing which is very important is to create a study group. If possible, you can talk with the friends you have. You can create a small group and all of you can quiz each other. You can ask each other questions. You'll have someone to study with at the same time. It makes it a bit easier to know that other people are also studying as hard, and it pushes you to study hard as well. Now, going on to the syllabus that we have, first of all, drawing. The most important subject is drawing, because as I saw from my UCEED examination, the drawing was the main part that got me my marks, that made me score a good rank. And what I would say is attend every single lecture while practicing side by side. Don't just look at what sir is drawing, what Nizza sir is drawing or Shivam sir is drawing, but draw what he's also drawing at the same time. Practice it yourself. And when you do that, you start to see some changes in your drawing come, and you keep taking notes also side by side, so that later on, the night before the examination, says is the most important thing. He knows the examinations very well. Then practicing different topics, such as texture, product enlargement, perspective, and an NID tends to give all of this mixed up together. So when you practice it every single day with different topics, you have a year right now to do it. So if you practice every single day a different product, then you will get really good by the end of the by the time the exam comes. Keeping 3 blank books. This was my rule that I kept. I kept one for the questions sir gave every single day, and I would only make this my question book. Next was the class book, which I would take side by side with sir, and then third was my daily practice book. You won't believe it, every book was around 200 pages, and each one was full by the end of the year, because you have to practice that much if you want to get good at drawing. Making note of the tips and instructions that sir gives. And like I said before, this is very important for the week before the exam. The 3 most important things you can do in drawing is having a clean line art, especially for NIFT and a bit for NID as well. Though NID is okay if it's a bit more not like that, but for NIFT it's really important that you have neat lines going on. Your fonts, I struggled with fonts a lot, and my father used to scold me all the time. But if you can start practicing your fonts right now, they're so important for almost every single topic that is there. Your writing needs to look like it's a font, that like it's a printed font. So if you start practicing right now, light and shadow and texture, all of these are very important when it comes to your final exam. You will realize everything that makes up observation is amongst these things itself: perspective, depth, the shape of things. If anything looks off, it is because something is wrong in one of these. Moving on to GK, this is a really, really long topic. But the first thing I'll say is the newspaper habit. It will be really tough to read a newspaper every single day if you're not used to reading a newspaper, because I wasn't. So I would take 1 hour in the beginning to read the newspaper. And it was maybe too much to read the newspaper, and I used to get tired. So you need to learn, the more you read the newspaper, you'll realize there are only particular sections you really have to pay attention to. In a newspaper such as the Hindu, there are tons of English tips that come in one corner of it as well, which is really good for you because you crack GK and English at the same time like that. Asking a family member or friend to discuss topics and quiz you. This is super important because the more you practice and the more you quiz yourself on it, you will remember what you do wrong as well. If you get a question wrong, you'll remember it next time because you got it wrong or because you got it right. One thing I would say is, if you go for a walk every day, if you have a dog, at that time you get someone to quiz you at the same time, so that you do 2 things at the same time. Making a notebook for class. This is super important because there are so many topics you have to cover when it comes to GK, especially this year for NIFT, since they have made their syllabus a bit different in the way they did last year when I give the exam. So if you make a notebook, then when the time comes before your exam, maybe a month before your exam, you'll have all your notes in front of you to study with. And reading from GK books daily. Right now, I'll just show you a couple that I recommend. These are some of the best GK books I read this entire year, which includes the Hindu Arihan GK book, which includes every single thing for competitive exams. It's a really small book, but it includes the basic knowledge you need. Manorma, Pratyogita Darpan, Competition Success, Jagran Josh, and Indian Art and Culture. All the one of them is a website. The rest are all really important if you can read it every single day. I used to find time between my classes to sit and read this. And I know my friends used to judge me for doing that, but it's like, look where I am now. You should read every day if you can. It will be hard. It's a hard decision to make, but it leads to maths and logical reasoning. Again, something else like drawing, where consistency is matters a lot. Practicing every day matters a lot, and attending all the classes. You might not be able to attend it that day, but if you can watch recordings also later on. I watched recordings a lot of times. I'm not good at maths at all, so I had to keep on watching recordings. Maybe I think I watched the one on percentage at least 20 times because I couldn't do it. So, but you have to push yourself to keep doing it. Only when you push yourself to keep doing it will you become better. And one of the most important things is the 10 question rule. Every day, just attempt 10 questions. On the first day, you might get them all wrong. Second day, all wrong. But by the third day, you might get one right. And if you keep practicing it like that, eventually you start recognizing the patterns that are there, and you'll get it right as well. practicing previous year papers is really important because each examination has a pattern to it. NID gives very certain types of questions in logical reasoning. Even in GK, they ask mainly current affair questions. So it's very important to look at the previous year papers so that you can detect the pattern and accordingly study as well. English. My father used to tell me all the time, do not be overconfident in English because everyone thinks it's going to be easy. It's just English, but it's one of the most tough subjects you can do because most of the time, like in paragraphs that you get, you think you know it, you're doing it correctly, but you never really know it. You can lose all your marks when it comes to English. So a lot as well. Practicing previous year papers is super important because again, like I said, for maths they have a pattern. They ask certain types of paragraphs. Some of them are mainly with information, some of them are completely subjective, and in the subjective ones you need to see what the paragraph wants, the knowledge. It's not asking you what knowledge you have about a certain topic, it's what the paragraph stores in it already, and you just have to pick out the answer from that, not what you already know. These are two very good books that I used. One was General English, and then the by Arihant, and the other one was Objective General English by R.S. Many that I couldn't even finish it. But for daily practice, it is great because the questions keep getting tougher and you keep challenging yourself in it. Okay, so now I'll start by talking about NIFT. The first topic that I want to talk about is, sorry, are there any questions now? So you're on mute.
We will be taking a lot of questions, but you finish because you're explaining it so well. I don't want to break the momentum at all.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now in NIFT, I'll go topic wise in the drawing. First one is step drawing. Step drawing, these are some of the questions I did in the beginning. And you can see they're pretty, they're good. From my point of view, I always thought it was good, but there are quite a few areas that I realized you can improve on when it comes to step drawing. Like these are all very simple ways to show how to make a paper board. And if you look at the font as well, there was nothing, it wasn't very consistent. Even here, the background is not there. I'm just showing one part of it. So if you, in order to improve on that, from that, I got my drawings to this. There are certain things you need to keep in mind when you're doing step drawing. First is the presentation that you're keeping, the way you're showing the steps in making something. In the first one on how to press a shirt, you can change how you present it altogether. So this is what I did for that. You can keep changing your perspective as well in step drawing. You don't have to show the same flat one. You can change it from top view to side view, and you can completely remove it altogether by giving it this focus look as well.
And
So,
yes, you
and
will
then
talk about the elements also, how many elements we can use in the step drawing.
yes,
Elements is very
using the elements is very important when it comes to step drawing and a lot of other ones as well, because the more elements you add to it, the more you're giving the picture depth as well. You're showing the features surrounding it. Over here you can make an like you made an iron board and you made the press, you can see the plug here as well. It's giving the entire thing a story, something that is happening over here. In the second one as well, yeah, you don't have to show the writings, but when you show them, you show a story that is going on over here, the entire part of it. And especially when you make fonts, your fonts have to be really neat, although I don't think I made it very neat here. But it needs to be really neat to get it right. And when they look at the neatness a lot when it comes to step drawing. The second topic is poster. The posters can come in all types of ways. It can be, it could be government made poster, NGO made poster, school posters, or brand posters, and each one is very different. For government, like main point is that it's very straightforward. It has no hidden meaning in it, and it's straight to the point that what it wants to tell you. Whereas a brand poster has to do more with marketing. They want to show you attractiveness, colorfulness. They probably have some kind of hidden meaning as well. Over here, I'll compare these two because in this one, I focused a lot on the poster itself, but not on the font. And I had to improve on that over here. And on the second one, I focused so much on the background because here there was no background that I didn't make such a good poster at the same time. And it became very clustered looking with a bad font as well. So when you have to ingrain the two of them, you need to see which one you have to pay attention to. Can you color the entire thing? No. So for the poster, the main thing you can do is color only the poster if possible and focus on the background with pencil sketches, because that allows you to give a bit of focus to both while keeping it neat and clean. Like here you can see that the poster is very to the point because it's a school poster. It's saying what it needs to, but it also has a lot of attractiveness in it. And you have the fonts as well. They're very neat and clean, and that's how you have to make it. Over here as well, the font is neat and clean. And the question over here was to make a new make a new phone, a product of of Apple only, and you can put a drawing into it as a topic, the new artist's dream. It can be about drawing, so that makes it more attractive also. So the content you put forward, if you can relate it to drawing, if you can relate it to art and design somehow, that will also be pretty attractive to the examiners. uh, Again, here I focused mainly on the poster itself so that it gave me enough time to make a background with a pencil sketch. Another thing in poster is having depth. You can see that where the poster is kept and how you've presented the poster itself. These are very two different ways of presenting a poster. So if you can each time experiment with a different way of presenting your poster, you'll find out which one works best for different topics. Like for a school, for some celebration, maybe a banner works better. And maybe for launching of a new iPhone, a more classic look by putting it on an easel works better. So product design and an event design would be different in posters. Next is hoarding. This is the first ever question I did. I had to go through a lot of books to find this, but this is the first drawing question that I did, which was about dental care in hoarding. And I don't like looking at this a lot because I don't think I made it well at all. The font, nothing makes sense over here from my point of view when I see how I draw now. Like the background is completely missing, the half of a hoarding is being shown, color is missing the entire way through. And now if you see when what you can make different, you have to always see what you can make different and better than what you've made before. So next better thing you can do is making coloring, putting coloring into it, making it attractive. In hoarding, it has to be very simple, because people don't have time to see the hoarding itself, the boards that are there. So you have to make sure that it is 80% of drawing and 20% of writing which is there. And if the writing is there, it needs to be big and bold. It can't be small over here like this, because no one will be able to read it from far away. Then and a little bit of background also gives it some depth and story. The next one is postcard. Postcard is a very important topic because I've noticed we did lots of postcards this year. And one of the, like, I always thought I made a good one, but if you see over here, you can still see pencil lines everywhere. And in a postcard, neatness is very important. So you can't have lines going around. Along with, oh, I'm so sorry. Along with presentation, the way you present your postcard, you can put it simply on some wooden platform, but something better you can do is showing different ways we see postcards as well. Over here you can give it depth by putting it against some place, or someone is holding it, or the related itself to the what the postcard is supposed to represent. Indian handcrafts in a Dubai expo, so you can show both of them together. You can show something from Dubai and you can show something from India. That makes it more interesting. That gives, and yet again, it gives it a story. And if you don't have time to draw both the sides of a postcard, which will happen most likely, then drawing the first part of it is also something you should pay attention to, because there are different ways you can present the postcard. Then you can make it as a stack. You can lay beside it a pen, or you can even make a list where someone is ticking off everyone they're sending it to. So the presentation in a postcard is very important. The next one is stamp. Now, a stamp cannot be small. It has to be in a large size, is what I realized. Because when you make it small, the main focus goes away from the stamp. and it will go somewhere else. So when you make it big, you can see more of the stamps and more of the drawings, since the main focus is on the stamp. And you can see the difference in the two of the drawings like that. When the font and the presentation, because a stamp has a particular kind of format that you have to follow, like writing over here rupees 10 or writing the year. So you have to remember all of these things in order when you're making a stamp. So one of the first things you can do is writing down all of the things you have to make in it and continuously practicing if you remember the format. The next topic is pamphlets. Once again, pamphlet can be shown in a lot of ways because it's somewhere where a lot of creative scope exists. You can show it in a newspaper. You can show it as separated from a newspaper, like those ads that come with the newspaper. Like over here, this one is in the newspaper. This one is beside the newspaper. One mistake over here is it's very small. Either a pamphlet needs to be, but if you can get like this one, the topic was to make it based in Indore. So you can write that it's Indore's top dermatologist. And behind it, this is a newspaper that's very famous in Indore itself. So you show the examiner that you know some GK as well related to it and makes it more interesting. Along with the fact, like you can see that someone is pointing over here to the pamphlet while the other person has some marks on their hand. So it could be another part of the story that they're pointing to it so that the other person goes and gets some checkout done. Over here, you can see India has to host G20, Russia-Ukraine war, you've written down. You get you're well versed in GK and current affairs, and it gives it a story which you have to do in every one. Book cover. Book cover, depending on the topic, it's different for everything. The Atlas is a very simple topic for a lot of reasons. But what if it's for a school? What if it's for a children's book? What if it's something of a novel or a fantasy novel? Depending on all of this, depending the viewing audience, who it's aimed at, who's the target audience, the book cover has to be different. Over here, you can also, there's no background over here. So if you have to improve on it, then you need to give the background related to grade 12. Then you can make different things that would be there. Like someone fell asleep during class, maybe they're taking notes side by side. You have to relate the two because books is book in itself is a story. You have to give it the story. Here it's targeted at a children's comic book, so you can see that a child is reading it at the same time. There's a lot of things you can do when it comes to book cover. The font is the most important because in a book cover there are lots of things you have to follow. You have to follow the author, publisher. All of these things need to be written down as well. Then you have to write down the price for it as well. So you have to be very careful with what all you have to add into it. Do not forget the format. Then we have the mascot. Mascot, one of the main things when you're learning is that mascot is something a person, it's a suit that a person has to wear. So your proportions in a mascot is very important. It needs to be something that a human being can fit into. Secondly, a lot of mascots have very over exaggerated features, or they have something that doesn't look human at all, doesn't look like anything that exists. Um, but that's what imagination is all about. You have to be creative about it. Giving your mascot a name is also very important. It gives it a character. It also becomes a character and relating it to what's happening at the same time. If this is about Cricket World Cup, so maybe you choose the cheetahs because they came to India last year, right? So again, you're bringing GK into it. So that's also great. By relating these things, by giving him a uniform that's related to something happening right now, you give it a story and depth and character. Like a small boy is here, maybe taking a picture with it. Then we have product design. For product design, you can see the difference between the two. This is when it comes to presentation. This is a very bland background over here, but over here you're giving it some kind of you're giving it a background. You're showing different things about it. Lots of things go into product design, especially when when it's something to sell. You have to show the MRP price. You have to show one of the logos as well, whether it's vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So the main thing you have to focus on, other than proportion and attractiveness, because it has to be really, really attractive. It has to be an attractive product as well. Both of these were supposed to be based on something. This one was monuments based with a clock. They're two separate things over here. But over here, they have to make a product, children's juice inspired by some kind of fruit. Even the shape had to be inspired by a fruit. So that's what you're supposed to do. This is where your creative side has to come out, and you have to capture the different ways you can do that in. You can also you can change up the presentation completely. You can put on the side an extra part where you show the proportions of it with a person, or you can keep adding things to it to make it different. I think this is the last topic for NIFT, which is scene drawing. Scene drawing is very important because I think it came last year as well. Over here, you have to not only show characters, stories, lots of things are happening at the same time, but you have to show depth as well. Everyone has to be on the same eye line. Lots of rules have to be followed for it to look real and natural. Like over here, everyone is along the same lines. But in scene drawing, the main thing you have to show is firstly adhering to the theme that the question has already given you, like a rainy day in Mumbai. You have to adhere to the theme by maybe this is Marine Drive, right? And you have to show them that it has a story that it is based in Mumbai. Maybe someone has put over here a little cardboard for dogs to sleep under. Same way over here, this is a newspaper person coming in the early morning to deliver newspapers. So what do you see in the early morning? You see, you can see that there's a Merry Christmas sign here, and that person is wearing a coat. So it's probably winters and it's very chilly. And only a person who will wake up at 5 a.m. is someone with a dog that has to go down. Then you can see the other dogs sitting over there with them, someone getting milk. You can see that no one else is outside right now other than the guards. Over here as well, this was supposed to be, I think, I'm not sure, Abdul Kalam's room, I think. And you have to show the person's personality through it now. If you know Abdul Kalam, then you need to show what kind of a person he was, what all he used to do. Maybe a couple of things will already be given to you that you have to draw, and that's the main thing that you have to show over there, what kind of a person he is, because you're drawing his room. So sometimes you might get a question like that about a famous personality, and maybe you will get their morning routine that you have to draw out in a scene. So this could be one of them. You can see the sunlight pouring in, then it will show you that it's morning time. A clock also here would have been good to show you what time it is. These two, for this one, it was a Diwali, a bazaar, a fest that was happening. You can see there are so many rules you're following. Firstly, you have depth, perspective, your one line perspective going on over here. Everyone is along the same eye line. Lots of things are happening everywhere you look. And NIFT really wants that. NIFT and NID, they want to see that you know how to add in different elements. It doesn't have to be that one element or two, three elements are there that are really well drawn. But if you show them 20 elements, 30 elements, they won't care about all the other things you have made very well. So if you should focus on adding in as many elements as possible. You have a sweet good shop here. You have someone selling the the diyas over here. Lights are over here. Someone selling rangoli here. Someone is looking over here for lights, for some bangles and everything. So when you show so many different elements, the examiner doesn't have any time to look through all of them, but you can see that you've added so many things to it. Straight away, there's depth, there's story. Here as well, there's so many elements over here. There's a person, there's your mother standing there, father, the person is cooking over here and spilling everything. The dogs are there, and this is from a dog's point of view. So you see that there is another story to it. And the more elements you add in scene drawing, the better your drawing is going to be. And it having 30 elements, which are roughly drawn, the more the examiner has something to see. Okay, so now I'll be moving on to talking about NID. NID has a couple of topics that it usually makes its questions based on. The first one is perspective and scene drawing. But this is something, the question over here was to make a furniture shop, a second-hand furniture shop in Assam. So how do you show, first of all, that this is based in Assam? You can see over here straight away that there's a poster that says visit Assam. That gives it a look that gives it a look, and that makes you know where you are. You have got some scenery back there. A second-hand furniture shop won't have very good furniture in it already. So you can see some things are broken inside. Someone is reading newspaper over here because it's probably a slow day. Tools are kept over here. Someone is working outside. You're adding in lots of elements. The more and more elements you add, the more someone has to see, and they don't have to be drawn very well. They have to just be drawn in correct proportion. Like over here, you can see a small girl is sitting and watching TV along with an old man. You're adding in more elements, and it's very simple to draw out all these elements as well. Over here, you have to draw a space lab, and one very important thing about an NID is adding humor to your story, something that is interesting, something that is different from other people. It's not just a scene that is happening, there's a dialogue that's happening, some active participation, or actively people are moving around and doing something. You can see that over here you add humor to it by adding a dialogue box showing that something is different. So they're building something over here, there's a space lab written over there. It gives it, there's some story going on over here that you've been thrown into, and you need to figure out what's happening, and it makes it very interesting for people. Like I already said that you have to add humor to it. Over here you have to draw the scene of a swimming pool. That's it, just draw the scene of a swimming pool. You can draw this in so many ways, whether it's underwater, above water, but if you, the right angle that you choose is very important, because you could simply draw someone sitting by the pool. They told you to draw a swimming pool, but you go underwater and you show all the things that happen inside a swimming pool. Someone is busy doing laps. You can see that there's the cap. You've written an element. Another element here is that they're the captain of the school. Someone is jumping into the water. Someone is just moving around while someone is grabbing their leg. You're adding in different elements over here. You're adding depth, perspective, lots of things are going on, and it gives you the feel that this is a community pool. Lots of people are going over here and enjoying. This is also another scene drawing where we have to draw a poster. Just drawing a poster would have been enough, or drawing a painting would have been enough, but you're giving it a story by adding in that there are some street dogs over here. There's a person who's sitting down and painting everything. You can see the colors as well, you can see the paint cans as well, so you can see that the person is making it themselves. There's garbage as well, because on the street side you'll always find that. So, and you have a small background also. This is showing a depth, perspective. Different people are here, different types of people, because this is outside, this is on the streets. What do you see on the streets? So for NID, something very important is observation. What all, if you're going, like you yourself go to a swimming pool, you have to go over there and observe the things that are happening around you, so that later on you can add them to your drawing. You can, if you observe that there are a lot of street dogs, you will straight away take it in and you can add it to your drawing. Proportion and design. When it comes to proportion, they have lots of different questions. Like maybe you have to enlarge something, maybe you have to be inspired by some monument to create something, which is what's there over here. You have to, a bank inspired by a monument. You can choose any monument you like, but how do you add it into the shape as well? Add it to the background that is there. You're giving it a story, some depth, some good coloring, and you focus, the focus goes straight away to the bank that is over there. Here as well, you have to create a fun desk for a child to use. You're making it by giving it a story. You can, and you can change the presentation completely when it comes to designing something. It doesn't have to be set in some place, but the more elements you're adding over here, the more the person can see what all there is to it. You can, you have a main point of view. You can see some place where they're adding more things. Your font has to be neat over here so that they can see it. The proportion as well you've given it, it makes your drawing more interesting, and it also gives shows the examiner that you know this design, you know how it can be made. Yeah, that's important. Identify, improve, correct, uses, change. A lot of questions have something related to this. Identify something and maybe change something about it, or is there something incorrect here, then correct something, improve upon it. If you have to make 5 types of keys, you can make a regular key and with different kinds of wedges over here. But instead of doing that, you can go completely differently. You can show this is a normal key, or this is the flying key from Harry Potter. Why not? You can do that. There's some humor to it. This is a cylindrical key, again normal, but a hotel key is different. A key for a city is very different. Do not confine yourselves to the normal way. The minute you get the question, you have to think, what can I make different about this? Why, how can it be more different? Why should I, doing the conventional way is for everyone, but you have to make something different. Here as well, although the background is a bit too simple, how can you improve upon an ice cream cart? You can make cooling gel mats for the person that has to sit there all day in the heat of the summer since it's an ice cream cart. That's how you make it different. You have to show the different things you can add to it as well. You have to think about the person that has to sit there and he has to sell things in 40 degrees weather all day long. What would that person want in an ice cream cart that will be beneficial for them as well? In that sense, you can improve upon it. You can create a new design. Mm, yes. 5 ways to reuse glass bottles. That's also there. I did the bottle question so many times this year. This was most done. And you can, there are lots, again, the only thing I can say when it comes to identify, improve is do not be conventional about it. Think something I did in school. I did this in school when an exam was going on and I didn't have anything to clip back on. So I used my pen cap and then I ended up using it in a question as well, because you're supposed to observe the things that happen around you and the things you yourself do in order and put it into your drawing. That's the way you can make humanize it more. You can make a champagne glass out of it as well, because you can change how big it is, the proportions of it. The 3 uses of safety pins by enlarging them. This is something very different that you can do, because it shows the person that you have enough creativity to create something out of nothing. Something that is supposed to have only one use, you can show all different kinds of uses on about it. How to identify someone. You have to, over in this question we had to identify how we could identify an army man and a sports teacher. You might not know how to draw all the medals and all, of course, but just creating something simple from the knowledge you already have is enough, because it's not looking for perfection. It's looking for the fact that you have some idea about it, that you know something about it. Even for a sports teacher, you might not know much about it, but just showing the simple things that include the job of a sports teacher, it shows them that you know what you're doing. Last one is UCEED. The UCEED syllabus is divided into 3 sections. You have NAT, MSQ, and MCQ. NAT is numerical ability test. Here you get 4 marker questions and they don't give you any options. You have to calculate it and you have to yourself give the answer over there. Then you have an MSQ, which is multiple selection question. You can choose multiple answers. And this is one in area where you lose a lot of marks in UCEED, because if you say select A, B, C, and the answer is only A and B, then you lose all your marks, because C is the incorrect question and you get negative marking as well. So you have to be very careful when it comes to MSQ. MCQ is multiple choice question. For UCEED, you don't need maths a lot, but you do need to know the basics about it. Logical reasoning is the most important in UCEED examinations. They give you questions that show you spatial ability, that make you that you have to think in an unconventional manner according to the rules that they've given you, and you have to understand that. They might just show you a picture, that's all, or just a drawing of different fonts, and you have to select amongst them. I'll show you that question as well. And the drawing was part B. I'll get to that later. The most important website that I used for UCEED was called Stuff You Know. It is Gaurav sir told me about it, and it was about someone who was in IIT who created a website, because there's not much material about UCEED online. And Stuff You Know is one of the best websites that you can go on to, is to learn about UCEED exams. The person solves all the papers and they show it to you. Of course, you shouldn't see the solved paper. You should first attempt it yourself. Now, part B, they give you the most straightforward drawing question. The I'll show you the drawing question right now only. This was the sketching question that we got. Nandu is giving a dance exam in online mode in front of a laptop kept on a table. His mother is prompting from behind. While the exam is going on, his pet cat Poco is running around tumbling over a glass of water, a plate of biscuits, and a few books. No one can stop Poco and the exam must go on. Visualize and draw the whole situation if you're sitting on the floor witnessing the scene. They have given you all the elements that you have to use in an exam, that you have to use in the drawing. Every single element. They've told you what all to draw. You don't have to do anything but draw this out. Know your perspective, know your proportions, how you have to draw. They've told you that you're sitting on the floor and drawing it. So you already know what level you have to draw it from, how big the person in front of you will look, what depth and perspective you can add to it, and what all you have to add to it. You shouldn't miss out on drawing anything. After you finish drawing it all, then you can make it interesting. Like the pet cat Coco, I remember that I showed all the things falling down in the sequence: a glass of water, a plate of biscuits, and a few books. And in the end, I showed Coco, the cat swinging on a lamp along wearing a sweater vest that said Poco on it. You're giving it a rhythm that's going along with it. After you draw everything, it's up to you to calculate the circumference. NAT examples. This is a numerical ability test. So over here, we were given the bold lines correspond to 4 different paths: P, Q, R, and S. What is the length of the longest path? Longest path. The length of each side of the square grids is 7 units, using 22 by 7 as the value for pi. Now, obviously, they didn't give all of this information in the end for no reason. If you look over here at the grids, which are 7 units, each one looks like there's a circle in it. Each line has been made such that you can see circles going around in it. So if you pick up R, say, then this entire portion, the radius becomes 14. You have to calculate the circumference then, the perimeter of this place. And like that, for each part, you have to do it. It's all based on circles itself. For this, the answer was between 132.8 to 133.1. Very slim amount that you can put your answer into. There's not one correct answer to it. And I was lucky enough that my answer was just 133 that I gave. So there are many times when the answers they give you as well there's no particular answer. They've given you a range between which the answer will lie. Count the count the number of cats in the given image. All of these are translucent and you have to see through them. I'll calculate them. And so do you want them to try this question right now? You're muted.
We have a lot of questions to ask. So I think that anyways, I'm going to send them this presentation because it's a Bible for them now.
Thank you. So in the exam, when the question comes, when you can't solve it at this given time, that time you have to leave it and come back to it. That's the only thing you can do because this is a computer-based exam. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
It's a computer-based exam. You have to get back to it. Over here, there are 11 cats and you have to calculate each one and make sure you don't miss one or you don't add one more, because the minute you do it, there's no range given for this one. There's a particular number of cats over there. This is one question which I think you guys are definitely going to get, because after practicing all previous year papers, which you have to do, is that this question came for the last 5 years and it will most likely come for your exam as well. You've been given distinct types of characters and you have to see how many times a distinct one appears. So maybe this one appears twice. You can already see it's here, but you can only write it down once. Same with here. And there are so many interesting ways. You think this and this are the same, but they might not be. Sometimes there's an extra line drawn over here, or if the line drawn is different. It's very particular, and it looks at your ability to observe things, how well you're able to observe the things, the characters given to you. Then when it comes to the maths portion, these two are the types of questions that we were given. In the figure given below, the area of the largest regular hexagon is 720 units. What is the area of the shaded portion? There's no particular way to go about this. You just have to go whatever you think is logical enough and start attacking the portions. Like you can see triangles over here when the grids they've given. Like that, you have to break down the question and come up with the answer. The same over here. This is some difficult question that I wasn't able to solve, which is why I wanted to show it to you, because sometimes what you learn in basic maths might not be enough. A lot of logical reasoning has to go into it. And if you don't know the question, do not spend an unnecessary amount of time focusing on that question, because in that same time that you're trying to figure out this question, you could perhaps finish 10 other questions and come back to this later. The MSQ portion. MSQ is super important. You can lose so many marks in this one. The very UCEED is one of the few examinations where they really check your ability in design. They see your observation skills. They see your spatial ability mainly and how well you do in that. So when it comes to design, it's one of the best examinations to give. Which one of these hinges will allow relative motion in it? That's a very interesting way to look at it, because you have to use your head to see how it goes, how it moves. Your imagination has to be used in this. Even for this one, you have to look at the depth of the photograph. They've given you a couple of the views, the front view and the side view, and you have to figure out how it goes. This is an interesting one. You've been given 4 different fonts and see which one says universe. On first look, you think that this one says universe, but the minute you see over here that the N and the I are connected and you think that it's not connected, then you lose your marks. So you have to be very particular when you're checking. This one doesn't make any sense unless you realize that you're starting over here, U and N and I, and then move on. This is a very interesting question. You've all seen the mosquito repellents that you have in your house, but have you ever seen them in any other in any other design other than this? Probably not. So when you get a question like that, you have to use your imagination and take the information that they've given you already. They've shown you the yellow is a liquid. This is a 30-degree angle. This is a 25-degree angle that the socket that you're going to be placing it in the socket. Use all this information, then use logical reasoning to come up with the answer. Same over here, which table is going to be stable. This is something that you can all of these questions is something you can only practice by using UCEED papers itself, by looking at logical reasoning questions itself. The mechanism of a fish, this is something I never thought I'm going to get in an exam, but I got it, so it's there. You have to use as much of logical reasoning that is in your head to try and come up with the answer for this. Try and see what all this means. I had no idea what this meant, what these different kinds of designs on it meant, or the way everything was placed. But in the moment, whatever you get, you need to use reasoning ability to do it. This is the reasoning ability that comes. This was spatial ability that came over here, spatial ability. And then you have your reasoning abilities over here, mechanism ability, where you can see how mechanically inclined you are. Even with this one kind of question has come before for an NID, so it shouldn't be that bad. Even the length of the RAM, this is a tricky question to do. You'll see it in the presentation later. MCQ also has a lot of tough questions. They tell you a certain amount of rules to follow, and you have to see what ends up being the final product in it. So you have to go through all the different steps and you have to decide what comes next. They can do this in maths as well. They'll give you a number of steps in maths questions to do and attempt, and then you have to just write down the answer. This is a train, as you can see, the coach is over here, and you have to see at what point are you going to, is the 18th coach and the 20th coach going to see, the window seat going to see the 18th coach. So you can already see it's a very interesting paper. And in the beginning, I first did, but the more you practice, you will get one question right. You'll get 2 questions right. You'll get the 3rd one wrong, then you'll get the 4th and 5th one right. You have to keep pushing yourselves to attempt the question itself. And by the end, you'll realize you will get all of them right, because there's a pattern to all these papers. Start by attempting the most further back that you can find. I think 2012 is the last paper that they've shown on their website. They have the answer key as well, and start from that and move upwards till 2023. This one is, we've been given the following instructions, and which one of these can be made out of it. These are visual lines that were given to us. So this is completely logical reasoning. You're given the lines and you have to see which one of the names can fit in here. So probably these 2 lines make up some part of the name, some vowel or some speech. Maybe it's go or something like that. So you have to arrange them yourself, and maybe you'll have maybe 3 minutes to do the question. This is one of the most interesting questions, which made the paper really fun, is a betel nut cutter. This is something that I learned in art and culture. So if you think art and culture and observation isn't going to come in a UC paper, that's wrong, because it does come. A betel nut cutter is something from Bhopal. And if you've done research on it, if you've seen it before, you will know that C is the only correct option. Everything else looks very elaborate as the name sounds, but this is the only correct option there is. This is a very different question that they gave this year. What is the function of these objects? These three objects are the same thing, and you have to figure out what function they have. When you look at it for first look, when I thought it looked like you're measuring earthquakes, because you can see that something is happening. Maybe it's connected to something, but believe it or not, it's for toasting bread. Because the minute you observe the machine that's there, you will see each one has some space to slide something into. You've got some hooks to slide something over here into, and it's for toasting bread. So I have never seen any of these before in my life ever. But you have to use logical reasoning even when it comes to these types of questions to see what possibilities are there. This is something more simple that you have to see. You have to just copy each line and paste it around. The three will be different. It won't be this one. It will be like this, like that. It will be inverted. The drawing question I already showed the two most similar drawings, because I didn't practice for UCEED drawing question a lot, because I did it for NID and NIFT, and I used that information in the UCEED paper. So these two are the most similar ones from NID and NIFT that I can place over here for the drawing part of the question. Now the last topic that I set up was about the exam. Your mental and physical preparation when it comes to the exam. It's going to be a really tough year. It's going to be a long year, and you'll have to do 12th grade. You're going to have to do the practice for competitive exams, and honestly, you might not have a social life this year, and that is completely fine, because this year is about focusing on college exams. And the main thing is burnout. Burnout is complete physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion, which will happen to you at some point or the other. But you have to prevent it by any means possible. And the only way to do that is by taking breaks in between. You have to pace yourself out. You have to make sure you don't take on too many things at a time. Don't try and do every single thing in school. Don't try and do 20, 30 questions a day. Pace yourselves out, take breaks, do as much as you can every single day, but do your best in what you can. Talking with your friends and family, rewarding yourself when you do really good. If you do a mock test and you did well after maybe a couple of times not doing well, then you have to reward yourself, because that's the way you push yourselves to do even better. And the one thing that happened this year is my wrist hurt a lot because of the amount of drawing I was doing. Your wrist will end up hurting, your hands will hurt. So I suggest doing practice movement exercises as well, because my wrist still hurts a lot. And it used to hurt during the exam. So to prevent that from happening, if you start exercises right now, it won't hurt during the exam time. Having regular physical exercises is important, for whether or not it's for a competitive exam. Having exercise is important as it is. And if you have a dog, you can go out for a walk every day, but getting a dose of fresh air, getting out of the house is very important. You can't stay inside your house studying all day and cooped up. Your biggest competition is you from yesterday. You can't compare yourselves to other people all the time, how well everyone else is doing, but you can compare yourself to your previous self. You have to do better than the last question you did. Maybe you attempted some poster question, you didn't do very well, and you saw other people had done really well in the question. Don't compare yourselves to them. Compare yourself to the question you did now and do better on the next question. That is the only way you're going to improve. And the last topic I have is what to do during the exam. Time management. Your most important thing is time management, because you have 3 hours. That's it. You just have 3 hours to give a very important exam. And if you don't do time management, you're probably going to miss out on a serious amount of questions. Like I said before, if you don't know question, leave it, get back to it later on when you have time. And you have to I think sir is already giving you daily questions with a time limit. So if you have 40 minutes, you have to practice that question in 40 minutes only. Do not go extend that time. The minute you hit 40 minutes, stop. Time management done. Focusing on your table during the exam. There are going to be tons of people in the NIFT exam this year. We were allowed to sit anywhere. There were many people that were talking, they were gossiping, they were having fun. But you can't, your focus shouldn't be there. Your focus should be on your own table, what is happening with your computer, your system. And you've been given around 1 hour. They call you 1 hour before, 2 hours before sometime. So in that time, arrange your materials, keep everything so that it's at the ready when you have to do, when you have to use your materials, keep everything laid out. Negative marking is your biggest enemy, because negative marking can bring your score from 200 to 170 if you lose 30 marks in it. You have to be very careful of negative marking. And I already said the last one. Oh, I have one more slide, sorry. It's a long journey and you have to believe in yourself. You're going to be very stressed this year. My hair was falling out this year because I was so stressed out, but it's going to happen to you. It's every 12th grader story. Talk to your teachers for help and some support. Sumit sir and Gaurav sir, all of you were very helpful this year. I couldn't have done it without them. You have to pace yourselves out, and more importantly, you have to believe in your abilities. You are passionate about design, you want to pursue a career in art. If you already know both of these things, now the only thing left to do is push yourself to make hard decisions so that it's easier later on. And thank you so much, and you can do this. All the best for your exams.
Right. So I think that I can take a break next 2, 3 sessions because you can take it on my behalf.
Thank you so
Only if you get time in IIT.
yes, that's also there.
Anyway, so how did you like the presentation, guys? Everything clear? Yes, you can
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
speak up. Mic on करके बोल सकते हो, 1
Yes.
घंटे से बोल रही है।
I didn't even realize 8:30 हो भी गया अभी.
हाँ, 8:30 हो भी गए। मेरा आज मतलब मुझे बोलना ही नहीं पड़ा। I wish Rishita ऐसे ही सारे students करते रहे. So out of all the last 3, 4 sessions, I think this was the most informative because you have focused on all the aspect. Of course, they have shown their drawing, they have talked about, but you have talked like just like me. I have just seen myself in you.
Sir, I learned from you only this entire year. I tried to make the presentation like you, and
That I can see. Right. All right, great. Anyone has any questions? She has covered everything. Anyone has any question? Yes, Naya.
So you told me to ask this first session, say you told me to ask Sabko, so I'm just gonna ask Hrishitaa Didi also. Do my human figures need to look very realistic?
no, they really don't. When it comes to NIFT and NID, they don't have to look realistic. They have to look proportionate. You have to make sure everything is in proportion using the 8 heads theory, because you can't make a very realistic human being in the time that's been given. But as long as you make it in proportion, you make the features look like a human being and not like a dog, then you'll be able to understand that it's a human being.
Yeah, because one of my major problems is even after a lot of practice, I'm better at making more animation style pieces. rather
That's
than-
fine. Well, you can get into that itself. Just make it, that can become your style in the exam itself, to make it more animated, to have that kind of feature, because it's more important to have a lot of elements than have to have a really good human figure in it.
Anyone else? Any question? Yes, Suhani.
Why did you decide to go for IIT over NIFT?
So NIFT was always not my main exam that I wanted to give, because I didn't really want to do fashion design that much. It was one of the background things. And IIT has a really, really amazing course when it comes to the Bachelor of Design program, because it doesn't focus on any particular thing like product design or textile design. It focuses mainly on integrating technology and design, because that's a big part of the future as well. It teaches you a lot about graphics and graphic design, which is one of the main portions, product design as well. But it is able to capture all these different things into a 4-year course. So you don't have to specialize in one particular topic. And I think that's pretty good if you're not sure that you want to be doing only product design or only textile design or only graphic design. Vidita, how do I figure out what my drawing style is, and any observation advice? Your drawing style, I mean, This year, you might not even get time to come up with a drawing style of it. All I can say is you have to focus on all the things that sir teaches you this year and integrate that into your drawing. A drawing style and an examination style is something very different. Drawing style is personalized. It's what you make in your portfolio drawings. In an exam, they expect a certain type of drawing from you. They expect certain things like perspective, proportion to be there, and you need to adhere to that for this part of it. So what all, if you can learn everything that sir is teaching you and integrate it into your drawing, that's all you have to do. And observation, the one thing I can say is you have to get off your phone this year. Delete all social media if you can, because I deleted every single thing from my phone. I downloaded Instagram like 2 weeks back because I had deleted it for the entire year. The only way to observe everything is if you observe everything. You don't keep looking at a book or a phone. I love reading books, but I banned books this year. I bought 30 books last year, which I have to finish reading now. But this is that kind of year. It's a year where you have to focus on your competitive exams, on getting into college and pursuing a career. It's the next step to pursuing your career. Thank you, Radhika. I can't see the question. 1 second. I'm still not particular about the design field I want to pursue. Is that something that I need to work on right now? It will be cleared with time. It will be clear with time. Right now, you might not get time to even think about it. I wasn't sure between communication, graphic design, if I wanted to do fashion design, but slowly and steadily you'll realize what you want to do. The more current affairs you read as well, you'll realize what is happening in the world and where you might have a more promising career as well. But as long as you end up doing something you love, your career will be fine.
I
Okay.
expect all of you to open up your mic and speak. Please don't send a chat. Very tough for us to read.
Yes.
सवाल पूछो प्लीज. सब लोग सुने ना क्या सवाल पूछ रहे हो? No सवाल in the chats. Anyone has any question, please raise your hands. किसी के पास कोई क्वेश्चन है? Yes, Sanvi.
First of all, congratulations for your rank. I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask right now, what should I focus on? On doing my sketches daily or GK, maths, do the that first.
See, you'll have to do both. Somehow or the other, you're going to have to make time for both of them because they're both very important when it comes to your end examination. When I came to drawing in UCEED, I had only done NIFT and NID drawing, not UCEED based drawing, but all the information that I had from there, I transferred into it and I got 50 out of 60 in the drawing question. So if that can only come if you practice every single day. Even a small 30-minute drawing that you make, you can remove 30 minutes from your day and do it. One big thing I can tell you is if you don't have time to do all of this, then you're going to have to leave school for a while, put it on the back seat and you focus on this because you'll get time to study for your boards later on. That's the only exam from school that's going to matter this year. And that even I did that this year. I didn't focus on school at all. I didn't give my pre-boards only.
But then you got 97%.
I don't know how I did that because I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for those 1.5 months that I got to prepare. I just did. I just stayed up till 2 in the morning every day because my competitive spirit is that I don't like doing. I don't like not doing well. So I wanted to do well in boards also, even if I didn't have to do well in boards.
Yes, Kashvi.
Hello, Didi. Congratulations for your rank.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to ask, how do you manage the board prep and the coaching prep all together?
Yes.
Because each of them asks like daily preparation time, and it is really not possible.
See, when it comes to daily preparation for school, you have to become an active listener and participator in school itself. When your teacher is teaching class, you have to pay attention that time itself. It's not like all the other years that you've had that you can just sit and maybe I used to doodle a lot during class. So I stopped bringing a pencil in class itself. I used to have my pen and my book and no rough notebook, nothing, because to prevent myself from looking anywhere else and getting distracted. Focus on school during school hours, complete focus and participation in school, And when you get free time in school, you can either use that free time, maybe a library period, to study or do any assignments in school, or study the current affair notes that sir gives you. Because I used to study current affair notes during school hours itself. When it comes to board, really you can't study for it right now. It's the beginning of the year, and the more practice you put into competitive exams, the better it is. Board exams, you'll have to study during school hours itself. That I found it more beneficial. And whatever assignments you have, you submit those and everything. And when it comes to boards time, I think NIFT exam gets over by 5th Feb. Then you
Yeah.
have the entire, you have entire of a month to start studying for your boards. That time will also be a very crashing experience. So the more you study in school, it will be easier that time to do it. Yes, Nandini.
Yes, Nandini.
Hi, congratulations, firstly.
You.
And in the beginning, you said that you made 3 books, one for questions. So, did you actually go ahead and redo those questions, or how did you actually use that book for your benefit?
The question book, like I said, I used it only for questions so that I could go back to it and see. And I used to write down what all sir has told me. If I've missed out on making the background well, something is not in proportion, I don't have enough elements. When you go back and look at that, you have to see how can I improve it in the next drawing. What did I forget to add? Especially towards the end of the year, when you look at it, you will go through your this and you'll see something very interesting in each drawing you've made that you can combine right before your exam. And the question book is really a main practice book, because the more questions you draw every single day, the better you're going to become, the more you're going to improve. So you don't even have to go back and look at every question, but the fact that you attempt the question with your best is more important.
So, yes, Arav.
Hi, congratulations for your rank.
Thank
I
you.
wanted to ask, which stream did you have in 11th and 12th, and the subjects in particular?
I have humanities stream with business studies, so psychology, sociology, fashion studies, and English.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Anyone has any other questions? Since you have done such a in-depth presentation, I don't have any question. And I'll go through the presentation at night so that मेरे पास dialogue ready हो अगले sessions के लिए.
Thank you so.
Anyways. All right. So thank you so much, Hrishitaa. It was really, really, really wonderful and eye-opening session. I don't know how much they have got inspired, but I'm very much sure that they will start working from now, since they have 7 months. And I think it's a good time to, even if you are in the very basic level, you can improve from this point.
Totally. You have enough time to improve. 7 months is a lot. Even at 3 months, I was pushing myself to improve. I used to write on my hand. I've got 50 days left to go, just to push myself to keep doing it. So 7 months is a lot of time. You can easily do it.
That's the reason I have been making sure that they meet you people, so that they understand that it's first of all not a cakewalk, and at the same time it's not so tough what they think.
Yeah, I feel like when in October, when I was studying for the exam, I used to think that this is the toughest thing ever. But once you give the exam, you realize, no, it's not that tough. And you look back at it, you realize there's certain things you could have done better. And I'm telling you right now, if you start every single day doing just 1 hour, also 2 hours, then by the end of the year, it's a cakewalk. You can easily do it. You can easily give your exams.
Right.
Yes,
Yes,
Nandini.
Nandini, you have one question. Nandini?
Yes, sir. Just wanted to ask, when did you start preparing?
I joined DC in August of 2021. I joined quite some time back, but in 11th grade, I focused more on school than I did in it. 12th grade onwards, I gave my full focus to design circle. And that's the best advice I can give you. Sir's guidance, the guidance is the only thing you need, really.
This is the part of guidance only. They have to understand that
Yes.
this is the part of all the guidance. Since now, I think that whatever I say, na, only 20% of them take it very seriously. 20% को लगता है कि हाँ ये follow करो. When they listen from you, who have achieved it, I am very much sure that they will follow the things you have just said.
Thank you,
Because
sir.
now
That's so
they
nice.
keep me on the parents group. पापा मम्मी भी लेक्चर देते हैं, सर भी लेक्चर देते हैं. So बेटर से सुन लो जो actually exam clear किए हैं.
Another important thing is involve your family member. Like sir said, my father used to come listen to every single thing sir said, and then he used to hound me over it. He used to keep getting Pratyogita Darpan and making me read it. You sit down with me and do it. So when you have an involved person who knows your schedule, they push you to do your best. They push you when you yourself are too tired to do anything, and they also help you. They know how hard you worked for it as well.
मैं
So
बस बोल रहा हूँ ना कि मेरी बात भी सुन लेना तो क्लियर कर लेंगे, बस मेरी बात सुन लें.
yes,
If I give you assignment, do it. If I'm telling you that it's not important, maybe I'm also a human. मैंने अगर आपको कभी कभी 16 और 20 दे दिया, फीडबैक नहीं दिया, it means that I'm also tired. लेकिन मैंने
yes,
mark दिया, उसके लिए एफर्ट लगता है क्योंकि मैं कंपेयर करके मार्क्स देता हूँ. बट द पॉइंट इज दैट यू कीप ऑन अटेम्प्टिंग द थिंग्स. अभी मैं आप लोगों को कल समर वेकेशन का वो भेजने वाला हूँ असाइनमेंट्स. प्लीज स्टार्ट डूइंग इट. Anyways,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Rishita. I think it's a long session and you must be, I am sure you are on a vacation right now.
yes. My father was going, so I also joined him. I'm in the hotel room right now.
She is on a vacation and she is with you. So this is a kind of dedication I need. So you never said that you will be in a vacation. Otherwise, I would have kept your session after a week.
No, sir, that's fine. I wanted to talk to everyone, so it's fine.
All right. Anyone has any question? No, nothing. Thank you so much, guys. You can again say thank you to Rishita. And Rishita, thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Didi.
You.
You're welcome.
Thank
And good luck
you.
for all your exams, okay? You do your best.
So
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Rishita. And enjoy
Thank
your
you, sir.
vacation. And I feel
Thank
once
you,
you
sir.
come back now, you will be in a very much neighborhood of podcast.
Yes, I will be.
Thanks. Ciao.
Thank you,
Good
sir.
night, guys. Good night, everyone.